you're still awake, but you're also not really aware of what's going on around you. That is hypnosis. And actually, you're in hypnosis so many times throughout the day. Because you said with the lots of your past lives, of which lives, a lot of the women that I attract in that I work with are healers. I never spoke to anyone about it. I just remember saying, I can't do this anymore. I turn off my light. I don't want anything to see me anymore. I'm turning off my light. Leave me alone.
Special guest, we share the flame. Through every word we claim our name.
Hey sparklers, how we doing? So if you don't know me, I am Empress Sparkle. I am a witch, clairvoyant and Hellenic pagan, as well as the fact I see souls. So do subscribe, do like, do comment and check out this podcast with my wonderful guest, Natasha. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yeah, of course. My name's Natasha Braniff. I'm an intuitive hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, and kind of subconscious mindset coach, really. And what I do is I work with people's subconscious mind using hypnotherapy and other modalities to help them kind of see into where their subconscious blocks are, help them rewire their subconscious mind by going back, revisiting their childhood trauma, healing their inner child, and then kind of helping them to come up with more empowering beliefs instead of the, unfortunately, like disempowering beliefs that we tend to grow up with because of our programming.
Absolutely awesome. I love this. By the way, if you haven't checked out, guys, I have been a guest on Natasha's podcast as well. Being you, isn't it?
Be your best you.
Being your best you. Absolutely. The ladies are awesome. I will just say that. So if you haven't checked that out, I will link that down below. Do go and check that out. Um, so I have about 50 million questions. One is hypnosis. Like, obviously for me, hypnos is where the word comes from, is our god
Hmm.
of sleep.
Hmm.
So hypnosis, how can that help us?
Oh my gosh. In so many ways, honestly. So, yes, so it comes from the Greek word, doesn't it? And the Greek god of sleep. And it's ironic, really, because actually you're not asleep when you're in hypnosis. No, and it's a really, really important distinction because you're in an altered state of consciousness or awareness, but it is not sleep. So keeping it really simple, you've got different kind of brainwave states that goes up to your waking brainwave state, which we're in now, and then you've got like deep sleep state. So there's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Delta is deep, deep sleep. That is not what you're in when you're in hypnosis. You're in the middle two between beta and delta. So you're in alpha and theta when you're in hypnosis. So your brain waves have slowed down. So effectively, what it feels like is you're in that like dreamy state before you drift off to sleep. You know, when you know you're dropping off and you're kind of aware you're still awake, but you're also not really aware of what's going on around you. That is hypnosis. And actually, you're in hypnosis so many times throughout the day, and people don't realize this. It's got such a like stigma and myths around it, which I love dispelling because, you're in hypnosis when you're watching TV, you're in hypnosis when you're reading a book, you're in hypnosis when you're driving a car, or when you're driving around and you think, how did I get here? And actually what it is it's a completely natural state of being. And so many people are scared of it. And like one of the biggest questions I have as a hypnotherapist is, oh, I don't know whether I can be hypnotized. And it makes me chuckle because of course you can. We're all in hypnosis all the time. And it's like just such a natural state for us.
I love this because obviously for me, so guys, if you've been around here a long time and you're like, hold on, I call it REM period. So we go into REM when we're actually meditating. So for me, this is one thing that I actually tell people, you can meditate any time of the day because you can get into that meditative state quite easy, even when you're washing up.
Mm,
You can
absolutely.
automatically get it. I love that.
Let me tell you why you get into that state, like when you're washing up. So, effectively, when you're in hypnosis, what it is, and the reason why I want to get people into hypnosis as a hypnotherapist is because it gives us access to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is where all your programs are held. When you're in a state of hypnosis, effectively what's happened is your conscious mind is going to the back and your subconscious mind can come forward. And the reason it does it when you're washing up or when you're driving is because your subconscious mind takes control in those times because you're on autopilot. So when you're on autopilot doing things like washing up, because it's a bit of a mindless task, isn't it? Your mind can start going off in other places. Ironing is a great one. Like it's these tasks where you don't have to think about things, you automatically slip into that brainwave state of alpha or theta sometimes, if depending on how good you are at relaxing. And that is why you find those times that you do go into REM or the alpha or theta state.
I love that because this is why I get frustrated when people say don't meditate before bed. And I actually say to them, do meditate, just bring yourself out of the spiritual realm.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not the fact you can't meditate, because what I personally find is it helps me get into um what is it you call it? Alpha and
Theta. Yeah.
beta. Yeah, it helps me get there.
Yes.
So then I'm
Absolutely.
relaxed and I'm ready to fall asleep. So I love that you've explained that, because I think a lot of people get it confused a little bit, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Like as well, when I find that people say to me, "Oh, you shouldn't have thoughts during meditation," and I say to them, "No, have as many thoughts because that is your subconscious telling you to work it through.
yeah.
That needs to be worked through. You need to figure it out." So in a way, hypnosis really in a way is a way similar to the way I meditate. So am I hypnosing myself every time I
Well,
meditate?
yes, this is the thing. I always say this. I say there's not much difference between meditation and hypnosis in terms of you're in the exact same state, like you've just explained and realized you're in the exact same state. The only difference is in meditation, you're kind of on your own, or, well, if you do a guided meditation, then you're being guided. Hypnosis is we're using that state to reprogram you with suggestions. It's just a different way of using the state that you're in both ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it makes complete sense. And I'm here for it. I'm like, wow, purely because I'm just shocked because I hold my hands up. I'm one of these people that are like hypnosis is not real.
Oh, I
And
love you
now,
people.
now I'm like, hold on, if it's just a meditative state,
Hmm.
I'm doing that to myself. So
Absolutely.
what stops someone else, as you say, guided meditation, what stops someone else getting me there?
Yeah, that's right. There's a saying like that all hypnotists say. I can't remember who said it. Some famous kind of hypnotherapist said it, but all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So I am not actually hypnotizing anyone. You're doing it yourself. You're allowing me to guide you into that state, but I don't take you into it really. You're doing it because I could pull out all my tools, all the things that I do to put someone into that hypnotic state. But if you were sat there saying, I'm not going into hypnosis, I'm not gonna do it, there's nothing I could do. You know, it has to be your decision and your choice. And if you decide you want to go into hypnosis, there is absolutely nothing that can stop you from going into it because you're always in control. Hypnotists aren't ever in control.
Oh, wow. See, now that's interesting for me because that's along similar lines to when I'm doing healing. I
Hmm.
can force myself through and I can,
Hmm.
but I never do because it
Hmm.
don't work as well. It
Exactly.
won't be listened to as well. So for me, it's like listening to that. I know we sort of got flabbergasted on your podcast about how similar we do stuff,
Yeah.
but that's even more shocked me because it's
Mhm.
like it's so similar, the fact we sort of have to have consent.
Yes. Yes.
And
Absolutely. And you
that's
know why I
amazing.
love that though? Because it just shows us how much power we truly do hold and how much of our intention is real because people don't realize how powerful our intention is. We were speaking about this on our podcast with the protection, weren't we?
Yeah,
Intention is everything. And when you start diving into the world of hypnosis, it becomes very, very clear that the power is held. all within you. I can be a guide, and if you allow me to be a guide, my expertise can really, really superpower that and get you answers because I know how to guide you. But what I will always come from is I'm not giving you the answers. I'm not doing the healing. I am just guiding you to bring out the healing that is already within you. And that is what that's my whole message. You have the power. It's all in you. And we have to stop giving our power away to external sources, whether that's people, energies, government, anything. It's like we have to remember it is all within us.
I think that is one of the things that a lot of people we did. So do go and check this out because on Natasha's podcast it is more about what my gifts are and stuff like that. So do go check that out, guys. Um, for me personally, I completely agree because what I find, even though we said about the fact I do a lot more work for them than what
Yeah.
they have to do,
Yeah.
um, for me personally, if they don't keep that work up afterwards, which I set for them, making sure that they're meditating at least 3 times a week, putting up their guided white light, and they're, I know it sounds awful. I do encourage cutting the people out.
Mhm.
I know that sounds really bad, but I do. If they're not doing that, the healing's not there. And the fact that people don't realize how much power they have within
Mhm.
is unbelievable. Um, so I have a question about past healing as well, lovely. I know it's a bit of a jump from
Yeah,
hypnosis,
it's all the same.
um, but past healing. So what sort of things do you do with past healing?
So it is different, but it's not different because the premise is the same. I'm taking them into hypnosis to get access to their subconscious mind. So again, just going back to whether you're doing regular hypnosis, I call it, or past life regression, we're using hypnosis to gain access to the subconscious mind. And not only does it control all your habits and kind of autopilot behaviors and beliefs, it also, I believe, has holds information. It's
Yeah.
connected to this field of information, and we can, and you're talking about kind of past lives, future lives, parallel lives, everything. I think that that's what connects us to that bigger kind of intelligence field that we're connected to. So when I'm taking them into a hypnosis, so I do a particular type of past life regression. So I'm a QHHT practitioner, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique, and that was created by a lady called Dolores Cannon. I'm sure some people will have heard of her. She's she's passed away now, but she's a very interesting lady. So she created this technique anyway, and effectively, what it does is it part of it brings through past lives. The other part channels through what she called the SC, but what I call the higher self. So there's two parts of this, and it's a long session. So we go really, really deep into hypnosis in this one. So when we were talking about the alpha and the theta states, I'm getting them into the theta state. It's very, very deep. Um, Anyway, so the reason, for the past life regressions, what we're doing is oftentimes we think that problems stem from this lifetime, some stuff that's happened in childhood, but oftentimes it's actually been carried over from previous lifetimes.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, you can come back here over and over again to learn your lessons. And if you don't learn the lesson in a past life, that's fine. You'll just bring it over into this life. And so the game is to try and break these patterns, isn't it? It's like, right, that's it. This lifetime, I'm going to break this pattern of, scarcity, or this pattern of poverty, or whatever the pattern is. So what the session involves is actually 2 hours of speaking to the client and asking, tell me about your life. Start from the beginning and go all the way through. And that can be really healing in itself, because when does anyone ever say to you, sit down, I'm listening, I'm not going to talk, tell me about your life? It's
Not many times.
powerful. No,
Yeah.
it's so powerful. And actually, when you do that, things start emerging that people say, I've never told you anyone that before, I've never thought about that before. But what becomes very clear is that there are patterns, reoccurring patterns, one, two, maybe three, that are happening all the way through their life. And I trust and know that in those sessions, when those patterns come up, that's the ones that we're going to hit that have come through from past lives. So then I take them into the past life regression, and honestly, it's just incredible. It never fails to amaze me at how these past lives come through, which are perfectly showing how these patterns played out before. And the point is that when they see that, when they experience it, they feel it, it gives them this shift inside, because oftentimes we can understand things intellectually, can't we?
Yeah.
But we need to embody it. We need to understand it within. And the past life regressions can give people that because they've experienced it. And I take them up to their death scene. So they live the whole life, they die, they cross over, and then they can look back at that life and see, kind of what did I wish I had done? What did I do? What would I do differently? And that becomes an understanding for them in this life. And all of a sudden, that can unravel those patterns and give them this clarity that they didn't have before, but this embodiment. And that's where the power of past life regressions are. But not only can it show you, the kind of negative lives where you've done these patterns, but they also show you, and it's so, so clever, your subconscious will show them positive lives of the opposite of how it feels to actually not be like that, to have a lovely life. And so they can hold on to that feeling as well, and it becomes tangible to them, and so that they can carry that on into their current life as well.
See, I love this because so I did my past life. Well, I haven't ever done proper past life, gone into it. I hold my hands up. Mine just seems to pop up when I need it,
Hmm.
if that makes sense,
Yeah.
while I'm meditating.
Hmm.
And things like the blood moon. I am petrified of a blood moon.
Oh,
I
wow.
am literally petrified of blood moon. And this comes from, so my past lives, everything that I've been shown so far has a lot to do with witchcraft.
Hmm.
Has a lot, like my past life, I seem to have been a witch and everything.
Hmm.
And basically, funny enough, I didn't even know at the time. I hold my hands up. This has actually come out since Empress Sparkle. I was actually an empress back in China,
Oh, wow.
and she was actually murdered under the blood moon.
Oh, gosh.
So I found out that side of things. There's also the fact in Hellenic days when I was a witch in Hellenic pagan, Hellenic times, I was actually also the belief of Selene, there's blood on them, their light, basically. So
Right.
Selene had been hurt, and that's why Artemis had blood in her light. So for me, it's like I now understand that. So I'm not as fearful. I still have my protection up, but I'm not as fearful of it.
Yes.
So it's like it's quite odd how our past lives actually can affect us now. I do find that quite
Oh, yeah.
astonishing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you said with the lots of your past lives, so which lives, a lot of the women that I attract in that I work with are healers in, all different senses of the word. And so the ones and it's like there's something stopping them from stepping into their spiritual selves, from stepping into their true power. And so many of my past lives for these women, no surprise, go back to lives where they were persecuted as being a witch. And it's not always just about being a witch who practices witchcraft. Any woman classed as a witch was a woman who did healing, whether she used herbs or she used her words or she used energy, or she was just in her power and she was leading people from a different way. And yes, so many of those past lives, these women are going back to. And when we do that, they have the same realization as you. You can let go of the fear. And it doesn't, yeah, of course, you've still got a little bit of like, trepidation around it.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the more you go on and the more you tell yourself that story and you remind yourself every blood moon that, oh, that's because I was an empress in China, you can diminish that fear. You don't have to be stuck with it forever. But yeah, so these women, when they see these past lives is how they were persecuted, and some of them, oh my gosh, some of them, because I feel when I'm doing the past life regressions, I'm there with them, I can see it, I experience it, and some of them are terrifying. But when they realize that it's because of that is actually what's stopping them from stepping into their power and taking that leap into that kind of career that they want to do, moving out of corporate into the healing world, getting visible on social media, it's crazy when they realize that's what was stopping me because I've been persecuted for being in my power or using my voice before, and now I realize that fear is I don't need it anymore. That's attached to that lifetime, and I release it, I let go, and then all of a sudden that's when they get visible. That's when they take the leap and do the career and start helping people and do what I believe they are here to do.
Yeah, see now this is the thing about past lives, guys. I'll hold my hands up. I'm not an expert on past lives, so I love this. Purely because I can see what souls you're attached to and you've brought through from your past life, but I can't see what actually went on in your past life. So I love this purely because for me personally, people just, as we said, people don't realize for one how it affects you. And number two, as well, I think as well, I like people to realize they had past lives because a lot of people will sit here and say, this is my first life here and stuff like that. Sort of like they believe in reincarnation, but they don't recognize reincarnation. So for me, it's like, I love that because I think as well with the soul, seeing souls and understanding souls the way I do, like that the reason why we can still speak to the spirit after we've, in this life and after they've passed away, and everyone's like, well, don't they regress? And I'm like, no, because the whichever god or goddess they belong to takes that bit of memory out, they put them in spirit world and well, for us, the meadows, and then the rest of us is reincarnated. And it's like, how does that, what? And people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, because we all have past life. We all have things that we need to correct. Like mine is using my witchcraft in the correct way. I know that in this life because
Mhm.
all in the past lives, I've used my witchcraft and my tarot reading in the incorrect way. Um, so this life is, I've gone from being an empress down to basically technically living in poverty by the government's words. And it's like that is purely to teach me a lesson. It's to say, right, this is what's happened. You've done a lot of mistakes in your past lives. We're now having to teach you a lesson. Are you subscribed? If not, why not? Let's get subscribed because we're trying to get to 500 subscribers. Once we're at 500 subscribers, I will be doing a members live on Sundays, but it won't be just for members. Anyone will be able to watch, but the members of my channel will actually get the chance to be invited up to come live with me, exactly like I used to do my TikTok lives. And they will be invited to come live with me to enjoy the fact of tarot or mediumship. Yes, that's right, tarot or mediumship. And this will be on a weekly basis. So if you want that back, you want to see it, make sure you become a subscriber today. How would you start with someone that comes in and they sort of they know they don't understand about past lives, if that makes sense. So they've got a lot of questions about it. How would you sort of explain it to someone?
What to explain to help them realize that they do have past lives?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the first important thing is I will never push any of my beliefs or any of my understandings onto anyone because I know that I was a skeptic before, and if someone had tried to tell me, I wasn't going to hear it, I wasn't going to listen, and I don't want to waste my time personally or theirs on working with people to try and convince them of something. I don't feel the need. I know what I know, and whether or not it's true or not, it feels true to me and it feels right to me. And I've had so many positive things happen in my life because of it. So I don't feel the need to put my beliefs on anyone else. So I think that's really important to say. But if people are curious, then I would say to them, you know, I can't, you can't ignore the evidence. If you see something happen and the same things, the same patterns come up over and over and over again with different people, different types of people from all different walks of life, and you're seeing the same thing, it becomes really stupid to deny it. And I appreciate, like, I'm in the fortunate situation that I have got to be able to experience these things. But honestly, everything, it's the same story. Do you know what though? Do you know what I always say to people? Because I have done past life regressions for people who are skeptical. So my sister is really quite skeptical, and I was saying, "Come on, let me do a past life regression on you," and she was like, "No, no, no, no." And then one time she just said, "You know what? Let's do it." Now I really find this with past life regressions, with my past life regression sessions, it's absolutely a calling. It's not to be done just for fun. People are called to it.
Yes.
And I do think she was called to it in that moment. She didn't realize and she wouldn't say that, but she was. Now, when we did her past life regression, she snapped right into a past life. Now, she's someone who I've tried to do my regular hypnosis on quite a lot, and she just can't relax. She won't let me in. It was really difficult, but she snapped right into a past life, into a really like hectic war scene, actually. Very like ancient war scene, and the emotions were coming. And this is something that I tell people as well when I'm trying to tell them about past lives. When you have someone laying on the bed in hypnosis and they're recounting the life, you cannot fake the emotions that come through. I have people crying their eyes out, almost hyperventilating from fear or upset or grief, or crying with pure love and awe for what they're seeing. You cannot make those emotions up. And I can feel them. I'm empathetic. I feel them. They're real. I know they are. Um, and so she was crying and crying and crying. And her story kind of progressed. She had this whole realization, and it made complete sense for what the problems and the struggles that she had in this lifetime. She came out of it, and she was kind of like, wow, that was really weird. That was crazy, da da da. Oh, I still don't think it's a past life though. I think it was my subconscious mind that made it up. And I said, you know what? It doesn't matter, because whether it was a past life or whether it's your subconscious mind making it up, has it helped you? Has it given you a way to move forward? Has it given you a sense of lightness and healing? And she said, yes. And I said, well, there you go. Just take it then. So you
I
don't
love
have to
that.
believe it. You don't have to. I do. And I hold that energy. I hold that energy in all of my sessions, but you don't necessarily have to believe it. As long as you're open to it and you let me in, you let me guide you, you'll get what you need. And that's all that matters.
See, I love that because this is one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with is that belief.
Hmm.
A lot of people struggle with, and that does come from a lot of past lives,
Hmm.
especially, I don't mean it rudely, if you're been born sort of 1600s plus here in, the West is what I'm going to name it, because I hold my hands up. My obsession with East Asia, we couldn't work it out. And then we worked it out because my first 500 years as a soul was over in East Asia.
Right.
So it's like, that explains my obsession with East Asia.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
exactly.
explains it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I think for me personally is it's like I'll get people come to me and say to me about healing and they're like, oh, I don't believe it. And then I'll connect with them. And all of a sudden they're like, what's that weird? Oh, that weird feeling's my butterflies because of a factor thing. And then you'll get a message a couple of days later going, can we do that again? I love them ones because
Yeah.
you're like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Same as tarot. When I read tarot for people and it's like I'll read out tarot and they'll be like, Empress, that actually happened. How, what? And they'll come back to me and they're like, you were right. What? And I'm like, I told you, I've got a gift. I can see things. And it's sort of like, I think, I will admit, and I think Natasha will agree with me, as a practitioner, when you get them people that get that relief from it and they're still a little skeptic, it's quite nice because you're getting that acknowledgement of it does work no matter what.
Yes. Yes, exactly that. Absolutely.
Um, so one of the things I've got to ask how you got into it now, because the fact you said you were a skeptic, now I didn't know that. So
Oh.
now I'm like, how did you get into it as a skeptic? Because I've always believed. So now I'm like, that is so rare.
Mm.
So rare. So how did you get into it, lovely?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I say I was a skeptic and I absolutely was, but I've always believed as well. So I've always been a sensitive child. I've always kind of been connected, but it scared me. So when I was a little girl, I would kind of feel things. I saw a few things, but I didn't see that much, but it was more the feeling. So I felt things and I would be so terrified in my bed. Like there was such a big part of my childhood where I was really, really scared. I would go and sleep on my mum and dad's floor all the time. It was like up until I was a teenager. And I remember the very night, I can see it now. I remember it was nighttime. I felt that feeling again, and I just remember saying, I never spoke to anyone about it. I just remember saying, I can't do this anymore. I turn off my light. I don't want anything to see me anymore. I'm turning off my light. Leave me alone. And I never had anything come to me after that. A couple of not very nice things broke through, but for the most part, that day I turned my sensitivities off, and then I became very much a skeptic, like atheist almost kind of thing. But that was my conscious mind. But subconsciously, there was always that voice in there saying, it's real, connect, like connect back in. And I fought it. I fought it so hard because I kept telling myself, if it's not real, there's nothing for me to be scared of. Because even as an adult, up until I was like, up until 7 years ago, I was scared in I would feel things when it's always like you said, it always comes out in the dark. I'd feel things at night and I'd be so scared. The only way I could get myself over it was to tell myself that it wasn't real. And so I kept reinforcing that belief. And then I went to medical school. So I was very much scientific minded, was going to be a doctor, like complementary therapies, rubbish. Energy healing, no. And they kind of programmed that into us as well, to be honest with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
now that's interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
crossed arms is coming
I
out.
know. Yes, exactly. Now, I think that it's getting better now. So I went to medical school in like 2002. So it was quite a long time ago. I think it's getting better now. But back then, it was definitely like, medicine is the way forward. Um, and I just went deeper and deeper into this kind of skepticism. Anyway, in 2020, my mum passed away from lung cancer, and that changed everything. It blew me wide open in an instant. It because and I I've done a podcast episode on this. There was a moment where it was like a day or two after mum had died, and I just thought, I cannot go on in my life. I cannot continue breathing if I think that she's just disappeared into non-existence. I have to believe that she is still here in some way, shape, or form. And I literally felt something in me change, something in me shift. And from that moment, I've got goosebumps all up my legs.
I have
Yeah.
actually as well.
Yeah.
It was like someone just walked behind me and I got a cold chill.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, and it was from that moment everything changed for me because then I set out to prove a reason why my mum was still around. And thankfully my mum was very, very active in that period of time. And I swear she was like, okay, this has got to happen. We have to wake her up. We have to get Tash back, like, and so she was going hardcore with all the signs. And yeah, and that's how I basically got into it. So from there, I went into my spiritual awakening journey. And then, a year later, I discovered hypnotherapy for a series of coincidences, synchronicities. I was very much guided. And I remember that the day that I went into my first teaching session of hypnotherapy, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That it wasn't like I was learning, it was like I was remembering.
Yeah.
And and from that point I just knew like this is it, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's kind of expanded from there. I've gone out past hypnotherapy because I bring in the spiritual aspects of things. I bring in like that much bigger understanding of the subconscious mind. So I use hypnotherapy as a tool, but I'm not just a hypnotherapist, because I think there's a difference. But yeah, I got into it.
I have about 50 million questions. One of them isn't really a question, it's my opinion. I hold my hands up, and that is so from about 23 to I was about 25, 26, I was put on medication for depression.
Mhm.
until everyone knows my story about meeting the lady. And basically, I personally find antidepressants don't work. And I don't think they work for a lot of people. You end up stuck on them. I don't mean it rudely. I don't find talking therapies work as well.
Mhm.
So this has shocked me that they were encouraging just these when let's be honest, Freud, that they put everything psychologically on that our whole system's built on, is one of the most dodgiest blokes out sometimes, let's
Yep.
be honest.
Yep.
Oh, that was a big breath.
Yeah.
I saw that. It's like we won't even go
Yeah.
there. Um, so for me personally, it's like the fact they're still, I know now that they are encouraging spiritual more.
Mhm.
They're sort of realizing as well themselves that we've lost this path, part of us. Science isn't everything. They've sort of realized that now. And actually, I'll hold my hands up, and I know my guys will know this. I actually say energy is science. I can literally push my energy off and make one of them EMF meters go off.
Mhm.
You
Yes.
know, it's same as electric.
It's one and the same. Science and spirituality. It's just science hasn't quite caught up with spirituality yet in terms of
But
explanation.
exactly, but is it meant to? This is what I say. Is it meant to?
Mm.
Because when we think about science and, the gift of medicine and stuff like that, obviously for me, it comes from the Hellenic gods, which weirdly enough, most medication is actually named after the Greek gods and stuff. So I sit there and I say to people, is it meant to?
Mm.
Is it meant to be? Is everything meant to be understood?
Mm. Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think it is. I don't think we can.
That is true. I never even thought about if we'd be able to, because obviously it's a minefield, spiritual, and it does really matter what you believe.
Oh,
What,
absolutely.
and I'm sure you've met this with different religions and stuff.
Mhm.
What you, sorry, someone just literally walked straight behind you. So I was like, I'm wondering
Not
whether
like a
that
real
was
person
cool.
or a spirit.
Spirit, spirit,
Oh,
spirit.
right. Okay. I was going to say someone at my door.
No, no, it was lit. Oh, I'm hoping I've caught that, guys. So
Oh,
do
that would be
rewind and
cool.
have a relook.
Yeah.
So for me, it is just, I think personally, we're just not meant to know. I think as well, there is things like, for obviously for me, because I believe in the Greek gods, it's things like Apollon will help us and guide us in medicine and stuff, and so will his son when it's needed.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. The problem is, I have a lot of problems with science. So that is why I'm trying to be cautious with the way I word things, with the
Mhm.
fact that we have a lot of twisted scientists out there.
Yes. Do you know what? Like, I think I like my story, my origin story, because I've come from both. I've come from both
Yeah.
angles. So
I
it gives
think that's why
me,
you've made me think, because it's
yes.
like,
Yeah, it gives me, I understand both sides. I understand both sides, so it helps me to be more neutral and it helps me to zoom out from that perspective and look at it, from that bigger picture. And I agree with you. I think that what I always say is we were obviously given medicine, allopathic medicine, for a reason. We were, and it's been helpful. Like in if you think about in the kind of not that long ago, a couple hundred years ago, 100 years ago, before penicillin was discovered, people were dying from tonsillitis. Now
yeah,
we don't have to do that. So we don't have to lose our children at a young age. Do you know what I mean? There's definitely been reasons that we need to have medicine, but I do think as humans, we have to learn balance. And we just can't get
yes.
it right, So now we've taken this medicine and then we go too far with it. Then we use, this go into the antidepressants as an example. We're using it as to try and cure ourselves, but it's not a cure, it's a plaster. That's what I believe. I think that antidepressants can be helpful to a point if you need a little bit of a help. up out of a sticky hole, knowing that you're not going to stay on there. It's not a fix. It's just a little helping hand while you do the real work, the energy work, the belief work, the emotion work, um, to get you out. That's where, because it comes back to you have the power, you're in control. That's where I think medicine becomes helpful, and we just have to get the balance right. And we also have to not give science has become God, hasn't it? I think,
Yeah.
and we just need to understand that it's not the case all the time. Um, Science is helpful because in my early journey, I was looking for scientific proof to back up spirit, and I found it every single time, and that was
Love
helpful.
that.
But the more I found evidence through science, the less I needed it. So now I don't look to the science to prove it because I've become connected with my intuition, so I trust myself, but also I believe, and well, I don't believe, I feel like I know that this unseen world, spirit, is all real. And so I don't have to use the science to back it up. But I don't think I could have got here if I didn't originally have the science.
I love that because I hold my hands up because obviously I think watching family rely on drugs, like not drugs as in, but
Yeah,
antidepressants,
yeah.
watching them rely on them and stuff like that. I love the way you worded it's meant to be a plaster.
Mm.
I think the problem we have now is doctors don't have time for us, so they can't say, like, that sounded wrong, but I don't mean like they don't have time for us, like they're being lazy. I mean they're just so
They run
busy, bless
ragged,
them.
yeah.
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 Um, and I love the way you've said it's, now they have to use it as a plaster. And I think that is partly because of the fact that a lot of the doctors, unless they're in the spiritual, sort of got a friend which is in the spiritual place, they don't really hang out with them type of people.
Yeah.
So because of that, they don't know about these other aspects on what you do, Natasha, with, healing, what I do with healing. They don't really know these. And
Mm.
believe it or not, guys, I will just say 85% to 90% of doctors that I've met, and I've met a lot because I worked at a surgery and I worked at Adam Brooks Hospital, actually believe in spiritual. So I just want to say that there is a very tiny, minute. I remember speaking to a doctor and I says, "Oh, I've got to go down to level one." Now, level one, if you most probably know, Natasha, is a basement.
Mhm.
And they were like, "Amy, I overhear you speaking to someone else saying that you see ghosts." And I was like, "Yeah." They went, "Don't go down there." And I went, "What?" They went, "Don't go down there." And I looked at him and I was gobsmacked because I'm like, "You're a doctor. You're telling me you believe in ghosts?"
Mm.
So I'm literally, my jaws dropped. And he went, "Yeah." He says, "Especially round the morgue. Don't go down there."
Mm.
And I was like, gobsmacked. So after that, I sort of started up spiritual conversations with doctors to speak to them.
Love that.
And I was really shocked at how many. There was like one or two, which I'll admit were mainly American, that
Right.
I found didn't believe. And I was like, what the heck?
Mm.
Nurses, 100%.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm just thinking of a nurse I know who, yeah, yeah,
Or every nurse and every HCA.
yeah. But
You,
don't you think? I think that, doctors and nurses, they're drawn to doing that job because they are healers. They've come in, their souls want to heal. And, unfortunately, again, we get programmed. I just told you that I experienced it in med school. They try and drum, the spiritual stuff out of you. And it's very much medicine, 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 physical reality, physical. And obviously, of course it is. Of course it is right now, the way the world is. But yeah, they're souls and they've been drawn to. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. I decided at 4, I remember saying at 4, I'm going to be a doctor. I did. Why? Because I had that calling to help people. Now, it turns out that I was never supposed to be a doctor and help people in that way, but how funny. I've still come back to a career, complete opposite end of the spectrum, but I'm still helping people. That's what I wanted to do. So it doesn't surprise me that doctors and nurses are spiritual. Of course they are. They've just forgotten. But I love that you've been placed in a hospital and in medical fields so you can start having those conversations with them because you don't know what you're sparking off for them, what you're opening up. I love that.
this is the thing. So for me personally, it's a teacher. I am really drawn to teaching. I
Mhm,
love teaching. Even as a child, all I wanted to be is a mum.
mhm.
And people say, well, how does that have to do with teaching? That is your biggest teaching job you can ever have.
God,
We
yeah.
are here as a guide. A mum is a guide. We're
Mhm,
nothing else. We are basically the same as your spirit guides.
mhm,
And people sit there and they go, but how does that make you a teacher? And I'm like, because I feel like I'm really drawn to guiding people, really drawn to all that sort of thing. So I think I am one of these people that ask the questions people don't want to have asked, if that makes sense.
mhm.
And it's like, it always gets blamed on my ADD and stuff like that. And I'm a bit like, now I've spoke to you today, I'm like, is it my ADD or is this the fact that I'm actually being guided to guide others?
It's a whole nother conversation. Don't get me started on the whole labels of ADHD and ADD. I've we've done a podcast episode on that as well on our podcast because I truly think that labels, us as humans love labels, but I don't think they're helpful. What if people with ADHD are just a certain type of soul who have come in with a certain type of gift and a curious mind? What if people with ADHD and ADD are here to ask those questions, to think outside the box that the people without it don't think? Because without you, we're not going to expand, we're not going to grow, we're not going to come at things from different angles. But we've just had to label it as ADHD because you don't fit into the structure that we've created for normal, regular, people. So I don't buy into the label. That is like controversial, and that's just my opinion. But again, like from doing past life regressions, from talking to higher selves of souls, from talking to consciousness, I truly believe that that is what it is. There's nothing wrong with anybody, and labels are only for us to put ourselves into boxes to make ourselves understand who we are and feel a bit more connected or feel like we're not broken, but we're not broken. We're all special, and what we've come in with is our gifts. But sometimes, again, this balance thing with humanity, we shift the gift over to becoming more of a curse or a problem, and we just have to learn to shift it back over to use it as our superpower.
Yeah, see now that's what we call it in our house because I've got ADD, my daughter's severely autistic, and I've got another ADHD. And people sit there and they go, oh, you see people like roll their eyes as soon as you say, don't talk to her because she's got autism. Like, just ignore the fact she's there. Like, I know that sounds really bad, but it's better to be straight and blunt in front of my eldest daughter. Otherwise, she will go, why were you too polite? Why didn't you tell them? And she's actually, for me personally, she's taught me the most out of life. She has taught me the most. I cannot explain it. She is the most purest white light. She has the most biggest connection to the gods and don't even realize it. She'll come into me and especially Apollon, like her connection to Apollon is unbelievable. She'll come into me and she'll say, Mum, I suddenly want to write this book. And I'm like, right, okay. There's a white lady stood in the corner. She's encouraging me. And I'm like, okay, is it a moose? And she's like, are you a moose? And she's like, the lady says whatever she says. And she's like, yeah, it's a moose. And I'm like, get on with it, baby
Yeah.
girl.
Oh, I love that.
You know, and this is what I mean. Yeah, I'd love to know her past lives because I think she would have been amazing. I think she would have been an Oracle of Delphi, to be honest,
Mm,
because her
wow.
connection. And I think that, again, this is amazing with the fact of, as we were saying, my lovely, about how past lives can affect now, and also about how we're leaving the spiritual world in some ways, and how it's coming back. I'm just sorry, my mind is just racing with so much. I'm like, oh. um, because I hold my hands up, labels, the government needs them.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest issues. Like with my daughter, she can't,
Need help. Yeah.
yeah. The government needs them. So there's nothing wrong with you getting your child diagnosed. We
No.
respect and understand that the government, the
Yeah.
system, and I think that's sort of what you're saying, really, in a way. they've sort of forced this really massive come away from spirituality.
Yeah.
Um, so I do have another question on something sort of going back, my lovely. If someone feels a pull towards you and feels a pull to having this hypnosis done and stuff, what what way do you start? Do you just go straight in for the 2 hour session or do you guide them in slowly?
Are you talking specifically for past life regression
Um,
or any hypnosis?
any, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a
Um,
bit like, would you take them straight in? Because it sounds scary. I hold my
yeah.
hands up.
Yeah, lots of listen, lots of people are scared. I know that, or wary. It's part and parcel of I know that's coming. And I want to alleviate that fear. Like I said to you, I like to demystify hypnosis. I feel like I'm sucking all the like fun and magic out of it, but it needs to be done to help people understand that it's not something scary. I'm not doing anything to you. You're doing it to yourself, and I'm just guiding you. So in my, in my regular, let's talk about my regular hypnosis rather than the past lives because it's a bit different. But in the regular hypnosis, I do a program. So I do a 3.5 month program or a 6.5 month program. And there's lots of reasons for that. But one of them is because we really build trust and a relationship. And the more that you trust me and your subconscious mind trusts me, the more I'm going to get out of you. So that first session that I have within the program is mostly them talking to me talking to them, me getting like into their energy field so I can see people's subconscious blocks. I can see where their patterns and their programming is, and the limiting beliefs that are holding them back. I can see it and then I can reflect it back to them and make it conscious for them. So that's one of the things that I can do when I say I'm intuitive. That's one of my kind of gifts. So that helps without even taking them into hypnosis. I can help them make things come up out of their unconscious into their conscious awareness. And then you have control because then you can change it, right? So we do that first. But obviously, at the same time, they're getting to know me. I'm very, very myself. I'm not like kind of I always say I don't try to be professional. There would be some people that would look at me and go, "Oh my God, you can't say that to clients or you can't do that." I'm like, "No, I am myself completely and we form a relationship. I'm friends with all of my clients and I don't care if people tell me that's wrong or not. I am like we
Yeah.
we we're close and that helps because then their subconscious mind is trusting me. So we have the conversation. I'm kind of reading them and then I say, right now we're going to do hypnosis. And it's just at the end and it's a little taster. So I'll always do a taster and I explain it to them because I'm like you, I like to teach, I like to guide, I like to inform people so that they can feel empowered. So I explain what I'm going to be doing. I explain why hypnosis works. I explain how it's going to feel till that there's nothing else that can be said. So they're going into the hypnosis feeling like there's nothing to fear, so I alleviate that fear by talking to them. And then hypnosis is a really enjoyable, pleasant experience. So they come out of it the other side, they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. That after that first session, they realize that there's nothing to fear. And after that, it's just they're like, where's my blanket? Get me in the chair. I want to have the
I
hypnosis.
love that. Mm. Because for me, healing's sort of similar. I hold my hands up. So healing is sort of similar. They come out of it. They actually sometimes feel the relief during it as well, which is really nice because I call it the pop.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I feel from them and through me, I just feel like so I call that the pop.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Um, because for me, that is what we're doing. That is what we're meant to be doing. And I love the way I'm just in awe, and I will admit this, in the way you've managed to find a way round what I do, someone that has the gift to naturally do it. And I love that because it means the more white light, it means the more people healed.
Mhm.
So for me, I do love that. And I do love, yeah, I'm just in awe at that because of that. Um, so yeah, I'm sorry, lovely. I've noticed the time.
That's all right.
Tasha, would you mind, my lovely, Oh my goodness, Bray went dead then. Would you mind giving us a statement out on what we've spoke about today?
Yeah, okay. So I just think I just want everybody to remember that you have absolute power and control over yourself and ultimately your life. And the sooner that you can start learning about your subconscious mind and how that's running the show 95% of the time, as soon as you can learn that and start realizing to get control of that, that's when your life is going to change. That shows you that you actually don't have to be stuck in where you're feeling now. You don't have to be the person that you think you are now. Your identity is very fluid and you could get to choose and you get to change it whenever you want to. And the way you do that is by looking at your subconscious patterns and your kind of like where you've learned this programming, where you've learned your beliefs, and then you can start questioning them and changing them because beliefs are only a thought that you think over and over again. And you can think whatever thought you want over and over again, and it becomes
Yes.
true.
I absolutely love that. Natasha's details will be down below, guys. I love how similar it is. Let's get healing everyone together because that's what we want. We want everyone to heal, everyone to feel good. We want this white light out there. Um, if you didn't know, guys, Natasha is a white light. We spoke about that on the last one, on her one, even not the last one, as in my one. I will pop them links down below, so do go check her out. And also, as I say, guys, I may not be the healer for you, and Natasha may be. So, as I always say on this journey, you need to feel the healer for you. So, if you've found that I'm not, please do go and check Natasha out because she is absolutely awesome. So, thank you so much, lovely. Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, and don't forget, keep sparkling.